I'm Gidalia. I'm 62 years old. I live in San Francisco, and I'm an activities therapist working with older adults. I've always been an artist. Colors always meant a lot to me. Fortunately for me, this job that I have now, I'm able to do art. It's a miracle that I'm living in San Francisco. It's one of the most expensive cities in the United States. I have this job, and I have this apartment, which is rent control. If there wasn't rent control, forget it. I wouldn't be able to live in this town.
With the brush, I haven't learned how to draw the line with the brush.
Yeah. You're learning.
Yeah, I'm learning.
I think I was assigned to the caregiver in my family. There were always things going on with different members of my family, and it was sort of like I was the most stable one in the family, and I ended up being the caregiver. It became a profession for me, and I started earning money. I injured my wrist about in 2003. I was a professional massage therapist, and I was doing extra shifts, trying to make extra money to go back to see my dad, who was in a coma. And so I went back to be with my dad, and I got to see him before he died. But that was the beginning of my wrist problem, and I think it was the end of my massage career, which I had been doing for over 20 years. After I came back to San Francisco, I actually broke my wrist, and I realized how vulnerable I was. That, my God, if I fall again, another break, I could be out of a job, I could lose my apartment, I could become a disabled person. I'd say this experience has changed my life. I've had two major breaks. I guess I'm one break away from possibly not being able to work again. I'm committed to being healthy, and I don't have a car. I walk all over the city, try to make sure that in every way that I'm going to be able to take care of myself as I get older. When I get a paycheck, I know exactly how much I'm earning, and I keep very tight records of every penny that I spend. I save all my receipts. At the end of the day, I tally them up, and I have a ledger pad where I've got all my categories. Well, it's a way of life for me. It has to be, because I'm living in such insecure economic times. This is how I survive in it. I took an art class. I don't remember where it was through some community center, and I ended up making a bust of my grandfather, and I made it big enough, life-size, to put his cap on. And when I brought him to my mother's, my grandmother was still alive, and she's like, I noticed her kind of talking to him. She was talking to him like he was alive, and I thought, that's got to be the best compliment, you know. I do have to give up a lot of my identity as an artist, you know, and my wanting to be an artist and being paid as an artist to survive in this world. I'm afraid what's happening in San Francisco is that the older people and the less franchised people are going to be driven out and have to go somewhere cheaper. And I don't know where I would go, but that's usually what happens when money takes over a city, and it makes it impossible for lower income people to survive. If I didn't have the spending plan that I had and the tools that I used to keep my finances under control, I could be out there on the streets with the homeless people. I'm a paycheck or two away from being there, and that doesn't make me feel very secure. Addressing the needs of older Americans is important to every citizen, because you're going to be old someday. And don't forget it. If you're lucky enough to be old, you want to make sure that you have the quality of life that you want. Everybody has a parent, and not everybody remembers their grandparents, but the elderly people are a valuable part of society, and they deserve to be respected and acknowledged and taken care of. When I look in your eyes, I see the sadness of 1,000 goodbyes. I see the sparkle of the stars in the skies.
We took these pictures the other day at a photo booth, and I thought I would slip them into here to send my mom so she could have me in the snow.
When I look in your eyes, and it is no surprise to see the softness of the moon